Teste, teste. Teste, teste. Teste, teste. We had a lot of problems, but I can't see in our field any problems about it. Obviously, we've had some repression, some mostly in the price, but are we are struggling to survive. So Edson, well, as John said, it haven't damaged a lot this area of agriculture and fruticulture because we are in the off season of the melon and the watermelon, and these fruits they have a reduction of volume in these periods. And the banana fruit culture, and we had to perform lots of adequations to attend not only the demands, regulamentations imposed by the government, by the entities, and as well as the worry of the importers to know how to manage these issues in these farms. To give you an example, it's nothing new, but the use of hand sanitizer, nursery, homes, so measuring the temperature of all the workers all the time, not letting the works to stop, in the middle of a pandemic like that, for organization to have some harvesting, weekly harvesting. So it's a chaos for the company, for the activity as a whole. I would say that we are doing right relatively, because we had lots of problems. It's not a case to comment, but relation regarding the pandemic from the operational point of view. So Alexandre, So good evening, everyone. So Sílvio, Edson, a pleasure to be here to share these experiences for us, this period of the pandemic to the Santa Lucia group. Nowadays we work in this the wheat and the grapes and the derivatives. It's not been a lot problematic. So consumption, final consumer market. So regarding the pandemic, that by the decision of the government, people that were at home without adventuring themselves in the world, they started to use their culinary abilities, and we've had an increase of consumption with eggs consumption, for example, that coincided with Easter. So traditionally, you have selling of eggs, and when we have this pandemic thing together, we increase the volume of selling. So talking about flour, it's been more balanced, but extremely positive, as lots of people started to perform recipes at home to do cakes and bread, and it increased the consumption. So regarding internal movement, we've had some problems, nothing too much compromising, because we prepared ourselves as the other companions. So for example, chicken, they don't stop to produce eggs. So we haven't had the flexibility neither to stop nor to have absence of people. So we have every day the chickens producing eggs, and we've had the commitment to service our clients and our, yes, it's interesting how the agribusiness sector haven't stopped, kept producing. Only a few sectors had problems, for example, the flowers and the ornamental plants. They have been impacted. So the shrimp sector suffered a huge impact because the shrimps used to be sold to restaurants, and the restaurants were closed, and it impacted a lot. And the people from Ceará started to understand and to do some dishes at home, and we are here in a virtual event. The fruit of technology that came from a pandemic. During crisis, we can overcome our obstacles. So state of Ceará has been suffering from a hydric crisis. You know, it bothered a lot. For example, the fruit sector has been impacted, and we've always had this bottleneck about the hydric availability. So we have a good climate to produce fruits into lots of cultures that they have a high productivity, high yield here in the state. We're very strategic, localized in terms of exportation to Europe. We have areas to expand to the state of Ceará based on of 70,000 hectares irrigated. So, and the potential of generation of irrigation area to 280,000 hectares. So we can increase our area in 4 times, and it's an opportunity that only few states have in hand. But we have and we've always had a strong action of the advocacy for the agribusiness, because it allows us to have a free of plagues area. And our ADAGRI, in our body of agribusiness defense, they can protect the investors. We have a favorable logistics, the ports and airports of quality, and the port of Pecém, the Mucuripe port, world-class level facilities attracting lots of businesses. So we have all the conditions to attract investors and to grow a lot. And then hydric offer. So with this hydric offer, We have an hydric reserve for this year, very good one. And with the transposition of the San Francisco waters, I would like you to talk a little bit about this new Ceará, this revolution of the agribusiness in Ceará that we can predict for the next years in each sector of yours. João, please. So your microphone is mute. Okay, it's a good question, Sílvio. I think we've had better development. I would not like to talk only about the transposition. Those who understand the geography of Ceará in terms of soil and water, they will agree with me that we have half dozen of regions that can be explored. So the high, the medium, the low Jaguaribe Valley, where we have a better professionalism, where we have the companies, for example, Edson, with a multinational company, has this experience, and other companies afterwards. We that are pioneers in Ceará, 24 years in the low Jaguaribe Valley area, and an area of high performance cattle raising. And so we've been pioneers, and we gave examples for that region, mostly the Apodis, the Apodis Plateau, and also we have the Cariri region, and we have a very good water, groundwater, very good water sheet, water table, and we also have the plateau, the Tianguas Sierra, true diamond to be explored, and being planted some peppers and other flowers in that area itself. We have only medium and small producers. And we have a region called Araras, a project. We have the low Coreaú Basin and low Acaraú Basin, two little explored regions with lots of rain and lots of water. So we have the center-south region of the municipality of Iguatu with an irrigated area. So we have these main areas that we could name, and some of them with very advanced technological development. So what happened in the last 20 and a few years? So my case is a civil engineer and a builder, so we predicted all that. I had all that previous knowledge as a cattle raiser and the knowledge of management, and with technology and study, we brought this development. So Edson brought, for example, a multinational here. So, for example, to pineapple and also to melon, and then the last but not least, the banana fruit. And these examples, they started to be replicated to that region, and today it's a region where we have a great level of technology in this field of fruticulture. We've been talking about the colleagues of melon that came from Rio Grande do Norte, and they entered 15 years ago and arrived to Ceará. So we have had this movement in order to fruticulture. And Girão dragged out the cattle raising. So the cutting edge cattle raising. So we had the Carlos Matos by the time, so very beautiful history in this last 20 and a few years in this field. But we have a lot to do yet. We have the area of research. So starting the first steps. Alexandre talk a little bit about the wheat together with melon, and so the pivot irrigation. And I always say that our irrigated agriculture is very diversified and will be each day more, because we must complete amongst the temporary culture and the permanent cultures, always in this with this binomial. One thing is to have 20 years permanent banana fruit culture. Other thing is to have short cycle culture of 120 days. And within this business model, we'll survive, because water will always, even with the transposition, water will be always very, very short and restrict. We can't guarantee if we'll have 100 or 200,000 hectares with the water we have, even if we explore all the water table. So we'll have, we need to have this cultures of low hydric consumption and temporary cultures, where you can have during the summer irrigation, and during the rainfall season, irrigation to a complementary irrigation. I think Alexandre will be very surprised if the yield of the wheat, also the cotton. I think all these models will be associated with pivot irrigation or people with melon. So people from the melon culture, they are thirsty about a solution, because they do not produce from February to May or June. They have 100% an empty land, an empty field. So there are lots of things to be done. We developed a lot within the private sector. Oh, the governments from the past, they participate, and have a partnership with Sílvio that has been covering us. And we've been reuniting and discussing lots of problems, despite the scarcity of the resources. But we have the sectorial chambers acting very good on it. I think we only miss from the government the resources, and from the private sectors to have the entrepreneurs that are willing to do that. For example, we have this partnership with Alexandre, that he's seen that it's important to give his contribution, integrating. So like Delphine, and 10 years ago, we couldn't imagine that should happen. Industrial business person, so trying to partner up with the primary sector. So we have 40 years, from in more than 40 years of works, the industrial area has never partnered up with the private sector. So we have lots of things to be done, and also we've done lots of things. I think the urban citizens, we that are more urban, I think I always remember, when I left the civil construction as an engineer. Well, you're crazy. Are you planting banana trees? Well, banana trees are better than engineering. I used to say that to my colleagues, and they got astonished with this thinking, because it's very complex, and the engineers, they have this training to manage problems. I think Ceará has excellent opportunities. We only lack participation from the government to allocate resources within the technology secretariat. So knowledge, we have much knowledge within the universities, much knowledge within Embrapa, and we can always bring some consultants from abroad. And I'm very optimistic. Despite my age, I would like to accomplish 100 years to see the Ceará 2050. And well, the government must do their part, whether of the environment or whether, less red tape with the company creation, less red tape with the fiscalization, and to be partner in this new cultures. We have lots of new cultures that they can adapt very good here. I have another example with the support of the Agency of Development of Ceará. So that's my point of view. I would let my colleagues to talk. Thank you, João Teixeira. Edson, please. Well, folks, I think João did a long explanation of the history of fruit culture with cattle raising, with other people that in fact will be involved with the renovation of agriculture and fruit culture in the state of Ceará, but we need to have our feet on the ground. With no doubt, the growth in this non-temporary cultures and the temporary cultures and technology and precision agriculture, very well known in other states. Well, they can make some adequations and to have good commercial results. We can't just believe that everything will be all right, but with no doubt, considering climate, considering that we can make a good soil correction, considering all the logistics, I think this temporary agriculture, it's very welcome. We have great extensions of our land prepared or needing some cultural rotation, like the melon. Also, like with the banana fruit culture, what we need is to depart to a more professional question. So we've had a number, never saw it was true or not. The state of Ceará had 40,000 hectares of banana tree. So this amount of bananas, it produces just a little, but we can produce more in less amount of land than to be in this mastership with banana culture. Because unfortunately, it's a vicious circle, an evil circle, because the producers they do a bad work, so the buyers they pay badly, and the supermarket pays a lot by not so good product, and the consumers, the final consumers, they're paying this price. So we need to improve the quality, So 40,000 hectares. If we do a quick comparison with Ecuador has 185,000 hectares and is the biggest exporter of banana in the world with an income of $3 billion. So 40,000 is so only 20% of this. So regarding these perennial cultures, I am an advocate that it complements the other cultures. So when you're trying to find another superior qualities, it's natural you have to invest more, and whether in material, whether in better packings of fruit processing. You have to invest a lot in the quality of your manpower and the longevity of your banana tree field, and by the characteristics of the banana, it's very welcome because the banana will not take water from the river when it rains, and when you irrigate, the banana trees they do well. So for example, we have one worker for 1 hectare. We're talking about 4 amongst the direct and indirect workers. We're talking about 4, and it's a chain that you can develop aiming internal markets and also external markets from abroad. So everything must be discussed, must be debated, and the producers must be aware of what they can do or not. I think we must have some growth, but a growth absolutely inside a bigger yield in the same areas and taking advantage naturally of our summertime to produce these non-perennial cultures that helps a lot the commercial balance of the state and generates lots of job posts, lots of. So regarding the Ibiapaba Sierra, we have some tomato cultures, special tomato cultures, and it's all that, all that is true. It's an area where you can have brutal growth, but we can take a look at the yield, the technification of the cultures, because those who have this, they're established in the market. They dominate the great part of the southeast and the north market, but we have a huge amount of other producers that can provide great amount of products for the center west and for the south and southeast. Technologies nowadays, they allow more quality on the fruits and on the vegetables. Well, my message is we may have some growth since we have an increase of yield in the same areas we already have, so not to waste lots of hydric resources as we did in some examples. So Alexandre, please. Dr. João, thank you for your kind words. I know you are a bold person, one of the pioneers of the cocoa experiments and achieving a great success. So if people told you crazy about the banana trees, imagine what people are telling me about the wheat. We read in people's minds. So I'm experiencing with wheat, and then people just think and they spare me of some comments. Well, I think the greatest challenge of ours is to do differently, to do the same thing, everyone does in some way. I think we need to be bold, and in our segment, in groups, in Santa Lucia group, where we act in the flour, wheat flour, and also we're entering in the pasta. So nowadays, for those who don't know, Ceará is the second biggest importer of wheat in Brazil. We import approximately 1.2 million of tons. It's a very significant volume uh, of wheat grain import. We know that Ceará won't become never sufficiently self-sufficient about wheat. It's far from imagined. So when we decided to do this experiment, it passes through a series of stages, interesting stages, where when we when we assess the viability of the plant, if it's raises or not, if it gives if it blossoms or not, lots of difficulties to assess. And then afterwards, we start to think about the limitation of resources, both water in the region, and how to do differentiated products. And that this is the huge, biggest leap. So to give you an idea, some mills, they are important wheat improver to have an improvement in the flour of the wheat grains that are important as medium quality. Why not to have an improver wheat with an exceptional quality? Because nowadays we have the genetics to facilitate this, to have a different product. So Ceará is very well positioned. We are in the middle of a region between north and northeast with almost 70 million inhabitants. And I come from the chicken farming. And everything we brought was from the center-west of Brazil. Nowadays, the Maranhão is self-sufficient in soybeans and in maize, also Piauí. So I see a huge potential to break barriers, not only technological ones, but also so some paradigm in order to establish new cultures. The wheat, to give you an idea, the Bahia that has been a state that's been producing interesting volume on wheat. So the wheat entered in Bahia is the big alternative to the soybean plantation because of the rotation of cultures. I think we'll have a good surprise on this rotation between melon and wheat because it will generate a great yield. We have a extremely free of plague area. On the contrary of it's happening in the south of Brazil, we've noticed a break of yield and because of the ice, because of the frost, we've had have this crop failure. And well, in our case, in October, we'll enter with pasta and we'll have to do this work with the producer because the wheat is more profitable than the maize. So why not to try to get a market share? Oh, very good. In terms of agriculture, of dry farming in Ceará, we have 1.7 million hectares of dry farming, 1.4 million hectares, and irrigated farming only 70,000 hectares. So this irrigated farming, it generates gross gross revenues only 50% of the total production. So with 5% of irrigated area, I have half the gross revenue. I have dry farming. So that's what Ceará have to incentivize. So the dry farming in our state is beans and maize. Basically, now we're entering this cotton culture, a pioneer project. João mentioned it. Also with the wheat, irrigated wheat culture. So we have this bias to aggregate value on the products we have. So we've assessed 15,000 irrigated hectares of an irrigated area in the low Jaguaribe Valley and the same amount in the Ibiapaba Sierra. So in the Jaguaribe Valley, we've had banana trees and other fruits, but also rice and other irrigated cultures with not too much aggregated value. Otherwise, on the other hand, in Ibiapaba Sierra, we've had vegetables and other cultures of high aggregated culture. So, and the gross revenue in Ibiapaba Sierra was much bigger than the Jaguaribe Valley's production. And with this, we need to think if we will irrigate and what we will irrigate. Also, sustainability. So banana must not have the best indicators by cubic meter, but it has an excellent indicator by employees per cubic meter when I establish this index throughout the year, and it's sustainable in this sense. And SEDET, the work economic secretariat, whose secretary is Mr. Maya Jr., he teases this in the executive secretariat. So we've been doing this assessment with our executive secretariat of the agribusiness, focusing on value aggregation. But it's not only to aggregate value. We need from you, what you have on technology. So to search for new technologies, new strategies of production, on the field. And I would like you to talk a little bit about it, about the technology on the field. What's the state of the technology in the state of Ceará? We have a strong partnership with the organs that work with this, like FUNCAP. It's been supporting us a lot to develop projects. So João talked about it. And also the institutions like Embrapa, the partner institutions. But how can we see this science and technology on the field? I'd like you to talk about it. We have 10 minutes, a little bit more. I would like you to have 2 minutes, each one of you. João. Okay, so can you hear me? Okay, okay. Well, truly, I would say, since I have a big relationship with innovation and with your great support, and we have FUNCAP, for example, the other partner foundations, but we are far beyond from the ideal. All of us, we are doing some this beautiful project of a house of high development to the cashew tree. And this is for those who believe in innovation. We have the cocoa research. It's a small area with a very high future, very long future. And other fruit cultures as well. So some years ago, we've been partnering with apple trees and pear in the Ibiapaba Sierra. Ceará, everything is possible in Ceará, even wheat. So what we are lacking of, because this is Alexandre, Edson, Teixeira. So we are people with condition to manage and to approach the government for partnership. We have the technical skills for this. But I would like to leave a message here. So because the government has no model of continuous model of innovation. For example, let's elect some cultures and find the resources. Obviously, nowadays we are having difficulties, dozens of projects approved when no money for them. But we need to create some models because we are putting a lot of responsibility over Embrapa and over universities. None of them, they have the profile to do extension. So they do some researchers and they don't have the extension skill. I believe in the in locos research, as in cashew tree and the cocoa, because they are examples for the region. I think we must insist in innovation, bring in new cultures to be adapted, bring in projects with Embrapa, with the wheat, and starting these partnerships and starting to serve as multipliers, because it's like that you can bring technology. So, and then we need education. It's impossible to believe that in the Ibiapaba Sierra we have no technical school towards this manpower training. So the vegetables and flowers. So and mostly the small businesses, they don't have the conditions to do the experiments as we have. For example, we are doing a revolutionary project with the cashew trees, with our own resources, in a small area for the small producers, giving a lot of energy on. So I think our primary sector, this fruit culture sector, or any sector, they want to innovate and so bring in resources from abroad and bringing some adaptations. Well, I spent almost 10 years traveling, visiting lots of countries, participating on events, participating in covenants, doing experiments in my city here in Ceará, Palmácia. And then when I arrived in the plateau, Apodis Plateau, finally. And I'm trying myrtillos, I'm trying cocoa, apple tree, pear tree, so the cashew trees with this revolutionary. And then within 15 days, we'll have the cashews from the cashew apple from Ceará. We have it in the market, but we are only waiting for the label. So it's this fresh, the apple, the cashew, so the apple of the cashew. So, but it's our contribution for the whole chain. So 2 minutes. So actually, fruit culture, the way it is, it's raised, it grew a lot. If we do some comparison of what's been planted 20 years ago, so and what we see today with melon, so it's a fantastic new world. So we have lots of we have our products in lots of places in the market. So it's part of new technologies and new techniques that the entrepreneurs they have as theirs. They always willing to innovate. So from the point of view of other cultures, well, they're kind of segregated. So there are small businesses with low quality assistance. So we haven't we have no rural extension. So and then Zusa can do a presentation of a vet technician from a broadcast live of Luiz Girão Institute, and they have maybe 2 or 3 thousand producers receiving in a hammock, receiving information. They can't go. They don't need to go in person. So this technology is very quick. So in agriculture, it's the same thing. But I think in some points we are going on the wrong way, ideology or researchers, biased researchers. Uh, I think if we assess the residual analysis within Nutec to have food safety, so with it takes 15 days, so it's totally. I think this is we are obligated to send. This is outdated. I think we need to send material to laboratories in other states. So how can we talk about precision agriculture if we can even use aviation? For example, here it's an example, a very clear example. You can't use airplanes in agriculture. So we have lots of conditions to innovate and in this field of organic. So in 2007, Peru used to export 700 millions, and Brazil exported $700 million. And Peru nowadays it's near 3 billion, and we haven't reached one. If you see the table fruits, their developments in the table fruits and the organic, we are losing the train because we are tied up, and we need to free ourselves. And since we free ourselves from this, with no doubt we can create a better environment to the producers, or whether small, whether big, or mostly medium, they can enjoy these advantages. Thank you very much, and good evening to you all. Alexandre, please, your final remarks. We have exceeded the time. So So last year I've been in China, and something that caught my attention was the plantation of wheat in 38 Celsius degrees with altimetry of 70 meters height. So no one understands a situation like that. And in China, the yield of wheat is 9 tons per hectare. So this is technology. And talking about this project we're trying to develop in Ceará, and these numbers, what happened in the Center West nowadays, in Bahia, we have 6 to 8 tons per hectare of yield with new seeds adapted to the climate, adapted to each region. It makes us to open, to hope, to be able to do what we're doing now, hoping for the wheat in Ceará. We believe that we'll achieve this stage with a yield of more than 4 or 5 tons per hectare. So can imagine what is to plant a grain that it's already sold out. So why not to use or to try to make an organic wheat? So think about it, entering a stage of the Ceará producing a grano duro wheat. So it would generate a very strong legacy. And then we had a lot of support from Dr. Osvaldo, the head of the wheat within Embrapa. We could create something with Federal University through Dr. Candido. All the equipment has been transferred to the university that will be the great pole of analysis, because in terms of analysis we are weak. We need to send to other states to analyze in laboratory samples. So when the work field and with the support of the specialized bodies from the state, the agribusiness, we can do a very good work, and we are just in the beginning. So thank you, Alexandre. I would like to thank again to all the staff that invited us, that idealized this event. Monica, Romulo, thank you, all the team, all the staff of Ceará Global, and this is the revolution we want. You three represent the revolution of agribusiness. Thank you, João Teixeira Jr. Thank you, Edson Brock. Thank you, Alexandre Salles, for being here discussing these high-level themes. We will summarize the revolution of the agribusiness in Ceará, transformation that will generate results, bring employment, and generate revenue in the countryside. That's it. So our thanks to our dear participants of this panel, the revolution of agribusiness in Ceará. Big hug to my 3 friends, and also our mediators, Sílvio, Carlos, always competent, always too much talented, and thank you that is giving us your audience. Please give us a like, thumbs up, and subscribe to in YouTube channel and in other social networks. We'll have a brief break and we'll return with our last panel in the second day of 2020 Ceará Global with the theme, the construction of the tomorrow, in Ceará 2020, the future in 360 degrees.